Hey, Pastor Dallas here with today's Real Talk from the Heart. Today's Real Talk comes from 2 Timothy chapter 3, verses 1 through 5. 2 Timothy 3, 1 through 5, and this is what the word of the Lord says. But know this, that in the last days perilous times will come, because men will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, unloving, unforgiving, slanderers, without self-control, brutal, despisers of good, traitors, headstrong, haughty, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God, having a form of godliness, but denying its power, and from such people turn away. This morning, as I was meditating on this passage, the theme, the fruit of narcissism, was just kind of ringing in my heart. You're looking at a narcissistic society and what it produces in that culture, that society. You and I have to admit that narcissism is at an all-time high. We've never seen it like we're seeing it now, being promoted, right? Making it all about you, looking out for number one, right? All these things, man, just do you. Narcissism is the leading cause for so many of the problems that we're seeing in the world today, man, in different areas of life. The Apostle Paul says here, but know this, right? Know this. Be aware of this, man. Know this is what's up. That in the last days, perilous times. Perilous times means difficult times. It means stressful times. What's going to cause difficult times and stressful times in the last days? It's that self-love. Men will be so in love with themselves that it's going to cause all kinds of problems. Again, in different areas of life and in different areas within the world. Difficult days are going to come. The next thing he says there is, listen, he says, men will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money. Now that could lead to, listen, not only greed, but also debt. Greed and debt are centered in narcissism. It's a self-love that leads to greed. It's a self-love that leads to debt, because there's that desire to want to fulfill, right, those selfish pleasures, which cost money, right? Ain't nothing free when it comes to, right, selfish pleasure. Braggart, he says here, there will be boasters. Again, that's narcissism. A narcissistic person brags about themselves. They're the hero of every story. Pride, it says they're proud. That's at the very core of pride. It's narcissism. It's self-love. It's me. Then he says, listen, blasphemers, that's insulting. Narcissistic people, to lift themselves up, they put people down. That's how narcissism works. Disobedience to parents, or even just authority in general. A narcissistic person thinks he's so self-important that he don't got to listen to anybody else. He don't got to be, right, subordinate to anybody else. And that's narcissism, man. It says here, unthankful. Unthankful. In other words, they live with the self-entitlement. A narcissistic person believes that they're owed everything. Then he says this, unholy. Man, listen, the word holy means to be set apart. A narcissistic person won't set himself apart from the things that he should or she should. The next thing you see here, you guys, is it says is unloving, right? Which is a hateful person. And man, narcissistic people, man, the only one they love is themselves, and they rarely ever love anybody else other than other narcissistic people. It says here they hold grudges, right? Unforgiving, man, unforgiving. They just don't want. I don't have to forgive that person, right? I don't have to let that go. That's a narcissistic person. Slanderers, man, gossip, put down. That's a fruit of narcissism. No self-control, without self-control. Man, this one really spoke to my heart this morning. When you look at people who lack self-control and are unable to control habits or those kinds of things, at the very core of the problem is narcissism. It's a self-love that causes them not to have self-control. And so, man, that's addiction, right? You can go on and on and on thinking about that this morning. But then it says here they're brutal. Right? What does brutal mean? It means mean. It means harsh. Man, rude, shrewd. Man, that's narcissism, y'all. Narcissistic people tend to be rude, right? Harsh people, mean people. It says haters of what is good, despisers of what is good. Despise means to not see the value in or to deem insignificant. And a narcissistic person will not see, right? Listen, will not appreciate what's right and what's good. In other words, the narcissistic people will make up their own good. They'll say, well, this is good to me. I don't care if it's not good to anybody else. That is a narcissistic person. Goes on to say here that they are unfaithful, right? They're traitors. They're unloyal. The only one they're faithful to and loyal to is themselves. That's a narcissistic person, y'all. You keep reading it, and then it says here that they are headstrong. That means stubborn. That's stubborn. Where does stubbornness come from? Self-love, man. It comes from that narcissistic mindset. And it says haughty, and again, that is flamboyant. It's arrogant, right? That again is narcissism. That's where that flows from. Lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God. Man, devoted to self-pleasure rather than being devoted to God, rather than loving God. Why? Self-love. It's all about selfish pleasure, man. It's all about pleasing self. A narcissistic person isn't interested in pleasing God. They're interested in pleasing themselves. And then he says this, man. This is such a powerful statement here. He says, having a form of godliness. A narcissistic person will pretend spirituality. A person that is given over to narcissism will have a phony, a fake, a fraudulent Christianity. Because again, remember, the Apostle Paul is talking to Timothy, this young pastor who's going to be overseeing the church. And he says, this is the, listen, reality of some, even within the church. There are many narcissistic people who live in the church, y'all. And they are given over to self-pleasure and all these other things while they maintain, right, this image of being a Christian or a church-going person or whatever. Narcissism, man. Pretending spirituality, pretending, right, a reality that's not there. But here's the thing, man. Talking about the fruit of narcissism, studies have shown that narcissism, right, leads to depression. Always thinking about yourself. Always thinking about yourself will lead to a depressive mind state. Why? Because that's not what God created us for. There is a link between narcissism and self-harm. Why is there a rise in self-harm and in suicide? Narcissism. Because people just get locked into that, and then they feel helpless, they feel hopeless, until sadly they finally do themselves in. But it all stems from the root, which is narcissism. The Lord didn't create us for self-love. The Lord didn't create us for self-worship and self-pleasure. You see, there's a chain that follows here. The greatest commandment is you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. That's the number one thing. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. So there's that chain. Love God, right? Love others, and then there's self-love. Obviously, we're not supposed to be hating ourselves and that kind of thing, but you got to follow that chain, though. It's a love for God first, it's a love for others second, and then finally ourselves last. But the misery and depression and all that comes because people put self-love first, and that's where they live at. Sadly, even today, you know, those people who are struggling with depression or that, they'll go and see a psychologist or a psychiatrist. And sadly, man, many of the modern psychologists and psychiatrists are giving ungodly and unbiblical advice. They're actually giving the advice that resembles Satan's advice in the Garden of Eden, which basically said this: make life about you. Make life about you, man. That was Satan's advice in the Garden of Eden, man. And the devil's temptation in the Garden of Eden about make life about you. Listen, that's why we have our self-centered culture today. Because many people bought into that lie that life is about you. Life isn't about you. Life is about him. Man, life is about others, and then ourselves last. Right? That's really how God designed life. But Satan twisted it. Man bought the lie, and now man lives a self-centered, self-pleasing, self-worshiping, right, self-important lifestyle. And that's why we have the problems that we have today. But he says this, you guys, listen, and from such people turn away. Now, you can automatically take that and say, well, it's the people around me. But when I read that, it begins with the man in the mirror. And maybe for you, sister, it begins with the woman in the mirror. That we've got to take a good, honest look at our hearts before God and say, God, am I a narcissist? Lord, have I made life about me? Am I the most significant, most important in my own life, God, or are you? Am I placing you first? Am I placing others second? Am I placing myself last? We have to turn away from such people who live with that kind of mindset of self-importance and self-worship. It begins with surrendering ourselves to the Lord and, listen, getting over ourselves. One of the best things that you and I can do is just to get over ourselves, man. Get out of our own minds, man, and get into Jesus, man, and get into people and watch what God does, man. Much of the world's problems today, man, that we're seeing, again, in different areas, in different parts of life, man, is just simply the fruit of narcissism. That's what we're seeing. the fruit of narcissism. But narcissism is so deceptive that it has people who have narcissistic ways. The deception of narcissism is that they're self-deceiving into thinking, nah, I'm not like that. That is how deep narcissism runs, because a person that's living with it won't even acknowledge it and see it, because they say, oh, that's somebody else. Listen, guys, the Lord loves you. I love you too. I hope this challenged you. I hope it spoke to your heart. I know it did for me this morning. It made me look at my own heart and really think about, man, what's going on in my heart before the Lord. Man, God bless you. Thank you for tapping in for some Real Talk from the Heart today. I hope you'll catch me on the next video.